Okay, guys, I'm just going to be giving you a lecture on the midterm assignment. It's not due for a little bit, but I just like to introduce it early just so you know expectations and things like that. So if you're on our homepage, I just want you to click on modules, or you could just follow along with me. Either is fine. You'll see I have not yet published module 3. It will be published in the next few hours. But what I want you to do is just to click on the week 3 overview, just so you sort of know what's going on. You have 2 articles to read in the Magrino textbook. You'll just be responding to the questions at the end of each article and submitting them to the assignment tab. You can put both of the questions for both articles on one document if you want, as long as they're labeled, that's fine. We are being introduced to a new assignment this week, the annotated bib. There's a video posted on that, and I hope that that's easy for you. It's not too bad, but if you need anything, just feel free to reach out. In addition to that, I've also posted a ton of resources for your midterm. So just keep me posted if you need more resources. I'm happy to post as much as I have. And then there's just a couple of notes on that job search assignment. I know that we did most of that last week, but just a reminder that that's due June 9th by midnight. And then the annotated bib, we will also be peer editing. So you must, at the very latest, submit your peer editing draft by 11:59 on June 12th p.m., and then your final annotated bib will be due June 15th by midnight. So just be mindful of those things. If we go back to modules, you will see that there are a ton of midterm resources. I'm just going to show you some of them. These 2 are documents, the schematic for midterm sales letter, if you feel like you need something to help you with structure. So that's a Microsoft Word doc that you can open and use as guidance. This is how to help you transfer your white paper into your midterm. So that's also another resource that may be useful for you. So those 2 things are optional. They were made by myself and people in my department to sort of help you understand the midterm a little bit more thoroughly. I've also included a midterm sales letter rubric. This is just sort of how you're graded. So it's something that's definitely good to be familiar with. So remember, we don't have that D in writing program courses. So the lowest passing grade that you can get is a C. Anything below a 70 is not passing. So just make sure you're checking that out as well. Just a couple of other things. I've also included a midterm PowerPoint, and I just want to go over some parts of this with you. You're more than welcome to go over everything, but I'm just going to be going over a couple of parts once this downloads. Of course, it's right behind where I need. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay, so this is just going over different components of that midterm. It tells you how long it is. It's 4 to 5 pages in length, single spaced. This is extremely important. It needs to be at least 2,500 words in length in addition to meeting that page requirement. So make sure that you are checking all of that. That includes everything from the first page to the last page. The only thing it does not include is your works cited page. It must address your patron by their name. So at this point, at the point of your white paper, if you only had a foundation, that's acceptable for a white paper, but at this point you need to figure out a person that you can address the letter to, and that's to whom you'll write your letter. You should have a lot of different pieces of research that point to a paradigm, your models of success and pieces of theory. It should also very thoroughly explain and define a current problem. Your audience, understand who your population is, why it's a problem within your population, and also what that problem is in general. A lot of you are emailing me saying, Lauren, I can't find data if your population is Rutgers, for Rutgers. You might not be able to find that. So if you have data, if you're focusing on stress in incoming freshmen at Rutgers University, you might try to find data on that age group nationwide. Why are freshmen at universities so stressed out. If you find that data, use it. And then I was telling students that they could extrapolate. You take that data and then you use it and apply it to your population at Rutgers. The other way is to use primary research, which would just mean your fieldwork. So you could also interview freshmen if that was your topic. You could create a questionnaire or interview them and cite that data in your paper as well. So just be mindful of those. Everything is in MLA, you know this. It should close with an invitation to your oral presentation. So that's very brief and easy to do. So just make sure you're looking at the models for that. And your annotated bib has 6 sources. Your midterm will have 8 sources. And remember, no matter how many sources you have, you need at least 8. Whatever your final source count is, half of your sources have to be scholarly or peer-reviewed sources. So if you end up having only 8, that means 4 should be peer-reviewed. If you have 16 sources, that means 8 should be peer-reviewed. I'm going to post this video for you, but it's just a video on Aristotle's Rhetorical Triangle, and it goes over ethos, pathos, and logos. And those are the 3 means of persuasion. It's the idea that you're using logic, that you're also using credibility, as well as emotion to persuade your audience. It's very quick. It's a small TED Talk. So I would just make sure that you watch that, because an argument is never complete unless you're using all 3 aspects. And this is just a little worksheet that goes over Aristotle's Rhetorical Triangle, just so you can use that as your own reference. I'm not going to go over this. I want you to read this on your own, but please make sure you're looking at the requirements for the paper and the purpose of the paper. On this PowerPoint, I've also gone over typical pitfalls and problems of the paper. And then I've also included 14 steps to writing a strong sales letter for your midterm. So please make sure that you're looking through this. I've just taken notes and I'm just going to scroll. These are things that you can do on your own. So please make sure that you're looking through that. And then I just have a few concluding notes for you at the end. And these are really important, so I do want to briefly go over those. Most initial sales letters do a solid job of identifying an appropriate patron to fund the project, defining a population to be served, and trying to understand a problem they want to address. So that means that your patron, your population, and your problem, those 3 Ps should be really thoroughly explored. They should be 100% gone over, and you should have a ton of research. The remaining 3 Ps, your paradigm, your plan, and your price, they need to be present in your paper, but if they are slightly underdeveloped, it's okay. So just know that that's okay and natural at the time when you hand in your midterm. But better proposals will have a more thorough paradigm, so just be mindful of that. Okay, the last thing that I want to show you, if we go back to modules, you will see that I've also posted a midterm exemplar with annotations, and I actually have that open right here. So I just want to show this to you as well. This was a student of mine from a few years ago, and it's one of the best midterm sales letters that I've ever seen. And what I've ended up doing is I've printed it out and I've highlighted a bunch of things and taken notes on different sections of the midterm. So what I recommend doing is at least reading this through and just looking at the structure if you are struggling with how to write this midterm paper. And there is one small thing that I just want to tell you. I actually scanned it wrong. So it goes down to the plan, and then it should actually skip right here to finish the plan, the price, and the closing, and then it would go right up to the works cited, which finishes down there. So sorry about that, but it's an easy fix. But regardless, anything that's in orange throughout this exemplar means that this student is either paraphrasing important data points, or he's quite literally citing word for word from a source. And you can see that. So you can get a sense for how much cited information is a good amount. I always tell students to avoid using block quotes and to make sure that they are integrating their quotes instead of quote dropping. So you can see that there's this small little introduction / hook, and this is normally a paragraph or 2. Sometimes students will do 3. And it just hooks your audience right off the bat. It gives them a quick overview of what your paper is about, and it starts talking about the problem in a way that's persuasive and that makes the patron want to read on. So you can read Alex's, this is my exemplar student, just to get an idea of what that's all about. You'll see that the midterm has different titles. You initially, right after that intro hook, transition right into your problem, and I've just taken some notes over here. So his problem is food insecurity in Trenton, New Jersey. So he has a title, Digging Deeper into Trenton, and this has a lot of information specific to Trenton, New Jersey, which is great. He also has a lot of data points about America in general, which is great, but you'll see he even narrows it just to Mercer County since that's where Trenton is located. And he also has really wonderful data just about how food insecurity impacts a student's performance and different elements like that. So you can see that his problem section really is one whole page on the first page. It goes on to being a second whole page. So it's about 2 pages of data. And then he transitions into his models of success and pieces of theory. And this is your paradigm section that we've been talking about. So for him, he has a very small introductory section that leads right into his paradigm. And you'll see he's divided them with subtitles. They're italicized right here. And this shows that he has 3 models of success. He does not yet have theory, and that's normal at this point in your paper. But what he's done is he's looked at other models that have been successful for fighting food insecurity, and he's essentially paraphrasing what they've done and then evaluating their success. So he has the Binder Project as his first model, the Trenton Area Soup Kitchen as his second model, and the New Jersey Anti-Hunger Coalition as his third model. So you can just read my notes on this, but you can get an idea of how Alex is progressing with his paradigm. And then he transitions into his plan. So you'll see there's a new title here. And then he describes how his plan will be comprised of 4 parts. You might have a plan that's comprised of 1 part, sometimes 3 parts, sometimes 5 parts. You have to think what works best for the research that you've done. So his plan is very well explained. You can see that this is definitely more advanced for a midterm. Same with his paradigm section. I'll have a lot of students hand in a midterm and it'll just have 2 different elements for the paradigm. We see that Alex has 3 subsections. I would say try to have at least 2. That's the best. But if you go beyond 2, that's great. But if you only have 1, it really weakens your paper. So the more models you have, the better. And then after that, I told you it was out of order. He has just a small little section for his budget. A lot of students ask, can I put my budget in bullet points? Is that okay? It is actually okay if you choose to do it that way. The one thing I wish that Alex would have done was just have at least a sentence or 2 justifying why this is a fair budget. And one thing I do want you to be mindful of, you never want your budget to be more than $1 million, and the lower you can get it, the better. So this was definitely an issue for him. He did fix it by the time he wrote his final paper, but just something to keep in mind. And then he has his final paragraph, which is sort of a closing or a call to action. It's a final persuasive pitch. He offers a few last data points and tries to persuade his reader and then invites his reader to his oral presentation. You can see how he did that. And then he would have sincerely, and then there would be a signature here. So if you wanted to just use a typescript, that's fine. And then he would have his name typed. It would just be Alex, whatever his last name is. So just be mindful of these things. This is just a nice little structure for you. The last thing I want to tell you, I'm just grabbing my book really quickly. Oh, actually, hold on. I can do that right over here. Let's see. So here's the book. The initial sales letter chapter is actually on page 169 in the textbook. And if you skip to page 173, you'll see that the textbook also includes exemplar sales letters, and they're really good. So we have Jess's sales letter here, and this was the girl that we were following for civic engagement. So you can also read an additional exemplar. So Jess's goes all the way through, and you can see how she has similar sections to Alex, and these are both pretty decent. So I can let you look at Jess's, and then obviously we have Jake's. His was about art therapy, and you can see that you just get a lot of different examples of what was successful, but I like to post my own from my own classes just so you get an additional example there. So I hope that this was helpful for you. We'll have more on the midterm later, but I just wanted to introduce you to it just so you could start wrapping your head around it.